Free your mind.
African Weekly Roundup, call it PAP Weekly Roundup, where we take you through the African continent and of course the world in just an hour with my comrade Thomas Lesaffre Mutatina. That Mutatina name he gets is from Uganda because of his job that has been doing research. He's a researcher. He's a veteran journalist, but now attached officially to the Spy Uganda. He belongs to the investigations desk at the Spy Uganda and the Pan-African Pyramid Research Desk. Mutatina, it's been about 3 weeks you've been in South Africa.
Yes.
You abandoned the job and you went to South Africa. First tell me, how was South Africa?
Listen, as a Pan-African, we cannot stay in one place. We have to go and go around, you know. We have to build connections, we have to build networks. So some of you already know.
I hope you have built good connections for the Pan-African Pyramid.
It has been a long journey that side. The politics are different from here, obviously, but we definitely have the same like feelings for Pan-Africanism and the same like ideas. So Johannesburg was beautiful, like always.
You were in Johannesburg.
It's always the capital. It's the capital.
You were in the capital.
It should be the capital of Africa. By now, you should know that in Johannesburg, in one day, you will meet half of the continent. You will meet a Mozambican, a Zimbabwean, a Nigerian, a Malawi, a Ugandan. I met some Ugandans that side. So you see, it's a small laboratory of African future, and because all the continent is here, everyone is working together.
So South Africa is the headquarter, is like the center.
And even cities like Johannesburg, like especially cities like Johannesburg, they are rolling, they are bigger than their countries. They attract in the whole region. If you go to Zambia, if you go to Zimbabwe, you will find people that have been to Johannesburg, that have made trade with Johannesburg. So it offers lifestyle and living and a culture, an urban culture to many people in the region.
Thank you very much. Now, for the 3 weeks you've been away, there are many happenings that happens in Africa. Number one is that we've been having riots in Mozambique. You can compare them with that of Kenya.
Yes.
The Gen Z.
Definitely. Gen Z is also in the streets of Mozambique.
I want you to give us a brief of what could have sparked these the Maputo riots that almost you would say as if it's a movement from Kenya, a little bit passed through Kampala for a few days, and then it's in Maputo.
I don't think you really passed through Kampala. These things we didn't see much here. We didn't see much. But yeah, we all remember.
We did what we could, my friend.
We all remember the Kenyans went to the street, and not only went to the street, but won on the street. They obtained some of their demands. They achieved the part of the agenda. Not the whole agenda, but a big part of the agenda has been achieved. And since we can see that the president is looking for solutions, but clearly he has been destabilized, right? So his governance has been made complicated. And what's happening right now in Mozambique has to do with the election that happened 1 month ago. So Mozambique got its independence in 74, 75, right? Since its independence, it is ruled by those that won independence. It is ruled by those that fight against the Portuguese to be independent, right?
Those that fought in the independence.
The freedom fighters of independence are still ruling the party in power, right? So Mozambique calls itself a plural democracy, but in reality it's closer to a one-party state. Mozambique has been ruled by the Frelimo. Frelimo have been Mozambique. Mozambique have been Frelimo. However, staying that long in power, around 46 years now, has sparkled some tension in the countries, right? They have made some mistake. The government have made some mistake. A few years ago, he was trying to get loans from different people, China, EU, US, Russia. And all the time he was trying to get those loans, he will pretend to the next superpower that he doesn't have debt. So he has accumulated a lot of debt. And that has forced the last government, the last president of Mozambique, to cut on state expenditure, to cut some jobs and to cut some money that was given, right? All of this is happening now, and then the president went on elections. So in Mozambique, you don't stay in power for 45 years, but every 2 terms, You get Frelimo give power to another man from Frelimo, and it goes on and on like this.
It's only faces that change, but the party remains the same.
The party remained the same, is governing the country since independence. But the young people have said, no, enough is enough. It used to be working. Let's be right. It used to be working. But recently you have stopped working. And you have stopped working also because the whole Southern Africa is under a gigantic drought as we speak. Johannesburg, a drought. Johannesburg, Harare, Lusaka, Gaborone, and Windhoek are all under serious severe drought. Climate change is pushing, is changing dynamics. I'm sure you have seen also in Europe there's a lot of rain. There's a lot of rain in Europe and there's really no rain in Southern Africa. So people are starving. There's around 22 million people in the region that might not have access to good food every day, right? So slowly but surely, that build up into a system, into something where people said, no, we need to try something else, right? So the party has been here since a long time. He has had some issues that have been acknowledged now, and young people, the Gen Z, are saying, no, enough is enough, we want to try something else. So they went on elections, and then they elected the Frelimo leader, like always, around 70%. But opposition leader, which is a human rights lawyer, said, no, listen, we have won. This one we have won. They have rigged the elections. And he came with some evidence from the north and from central Mozambique saying that the election was rigged, right? Obviously, the Frelimo didn't like that. He allowed people to march, exactly like Ruto did. But he didn't allow them to riot, to, as they say in Southern Africa, to toy. You know, toy.
Toy. What is toy?
When you toy, it means like you are dancing, and then you're also happy, but also you're singing the revolutionary songs, and you are ready to fight. You know? When you're toying in Zulu, it means you're ready to go to the fight, right? So the Mozambicans have said enough is enough. The young Gen Z generation is also outside, also in the street, and we thought this is going to happen for 1 week to 10 days max. 2 weeks after they were there, 3 weeks after they were there, 4 weeks after they were there. And now we are at the moment where it has been 1 month that the country is paralyzed, is damaged. The business is going down. Imports are going down. You have a lot of people that now fear that the government answer is going to be that they will send the army, right? So the winner, the opponent that claimed that he won, right? We don't know where he is. He has left. But many suspect he's in Johannesburg. That's always where people go. But he has left because he fear that he's going to be killed. He fear for his life, so he has left. It's quite important we understand where he is. Because it's not the same if you have traveled to UK or South Africa or Russia or China, right? Behind there is certain powers that can also play a role in what's happening in the streets. But it's the feeling, I've been speaking with some activists in Johannesburg that have been to Maputo during those protests, and they've been saying that the feeling is genuine. They want to try something else, right? And
they want to try something else from Frelimo.
From the Frelimo, right? And we have seen that in other countries.
Frelimo has been in power since
1974.
1974.
Yeah, 1974, but different president. Of course, we all remember.
Faces have been changing, but the system.
Yeah. Also, we all remember Monclan, we all remember Samuel Machel. Frelimo have had a lot of great leaders. And I think it's important we speak about that in the show because we remember that Frelimo was once a really close ally to the young Museveni, our president, right? Museveni was once working with the Frelimo really closely in Mozambique, right? So he knows the situation, he's observing the situations, right? And what he observes is what we can call a freedom fighters party that want to stay in power.
A revolutionary party
that want to stay in power, but yet a struggle with his own population to legitimize their own power. On the other side of Africa, that's where things get interesting. Botswana was in the same situation. Botswana was ruled since its independence in '60 by the by freedom fighters that fight for Botswana, right? And especially Mr. Kama. they were the success story, African success story. Everyone spoke of Botswana as being the highest GDP of Africa, one of the most organized. Service delivery is amazing that side. Public hospital that are empty. You seek in Botswana, you go, you find. You have also teachers that are really efficient, really solid school systems. Once one of my friends got, we were in Botswana, and one of my friends got injured by a snake, bit by a snake. You know what they've done? We went to the hospital. They didn't have the antidote for that particular spy, so they took an helicopter and then took us to Gaborone. And then in Gaborone, with the capital of Botswana, and then there in the hospital, we got an injection. They sent us back to the hospital in the north by an helicopter, just for one bite of a snake. That's to tell you the efficiency of the system, right? However, Botswana is also struggling because the price of diamond is really low, and all this economy is based on diamonds. Once again, there's a gigantic drought. And when there is drought, life conditions become difficult because the food produced within the country, especially in Botswana, is the cows. The food produced in the country now get really much more expensive, right? So people feel the effect of that. They feel the inflations, right? They're not happy. It's both a phenomenon of climate change and politics that merge together to create discontent, right? But comparing to Mozambique, comparing to Zimbabwe and South Africa, Botswana president has decided to step down and give power to opposition. After 56 years in power, he gave peacefully power to the oppositions, right? And what it tells us is that there is right now two scenarios. There is two scenarios in Southern Africa. One scenario where you have countries like Zimbabwe, like Mozambique, that have been liberated by freedom fighters, and that as freedom fighters that stay in power, right? In Zimbabwe, it's Mnangagwa. But you have another story where South Africa, Lesotho, Zambia, and even Malawi have accepted transition of power to opposition parties. So now we have more countries in Southern Africa that have decided to take the road of multi-politics democracy than people that have decided to take the roads of freedom fighters unity movement, right? And that distinction is important. Next month, we're going to have elections in Namibia. Namibia is also ruled by the same party since independence in the 90s. What will they do? Will they win power? Will they leave power? Will they accept if opposition win? Or will they rig the election? That is the questions that we are going to observe as Pan-Africans. But there is really two scenarios, and those that says that there is no democracy in Africa that really matter, what, they are liars. Botswana, Zambia, Lesotho, South Africa are meaningful democracy where opposition party can express and fight the government in peaceful terms and in legal terms and gain power if they propose some alternative to the populations. We can wish the new party of Botswana some good. We can wish them some good. Good thing to do some good thing for their country, right? We're hoping that Namibians are also going to vote for what's best for them. And we look at the situation in Mozambique, knowing that if the power get too violent, we will also speak about it.
They killed 11 people.
There's 11 people that have been killed. Some people say 24.
Gunshot.
Some people say 20 to 24. It is difficult to say, but what we know is that this generation, the Gen Z, they seem to be seriously motivated. They have seen what's happening in Kenya. They've seen that it is possible. They've seen that it is possible to have a state that deliver on its promise, and not just politicians that speaks of the past, right? And they are right now really motivated to change the dynamics because they have seen poor governance in their country since a fair 5 to 10 years now, and they think that like something better can happen. So in Botswana, a nice story. In Mozambique, a story to look at. And within the region, South Africa is still standing out by the national unity government that brings all oppositions and main political parties together to rule the countries. Can a country like Namibia or Mozambique do the same? Can they afford to have a national unity government where they invite the opposition to sit at the table and open like negotiations in order to rule and say, no, you as opposition, you want to work for the youth, you have the Minister of Young People. You want to work for us, we're going to keep the defense, or we're going to keep the borders controlled, because those are important tasks, right? We can see where it's going to go, but it's really definitely fascinating time to observe politics in Southern Africa.
Thank you very much, my brother. In Mozambique, 10 people were killed, 11 were killed, and dozens injured using live bullets and tear gas. Now, let's go to Senegal. Sonko.
Mr. Sonko.
Sonko dissolved the entire National Assembly. After dissolving it, he's now the alpha and omega of power.
He just won.
In Senegal, he won the election.
Yes.
But when the parliament, the National Assembly is in his hands.
Yes.
When the national security is in his hands.
Yes.
Then how would you win him in an election? Let me hear you.
So, Ousmane Sonko was in a difficult situation this year, right? We need to remember the man started the year in jail, right? He was in jail. He put his best friends to run campaign for him as president because he was in jail.
Yes.
His best friend, Mr. Bassirou Faye, you can check on my article online, type my name in Bassirou Faye, you will find my analysis of him. Bassirou Faye won the election. He became president, right? And he named Sonko prime minister. So the two were not in power. However, they have the presidency. But in Senegal, the presidency doesn't happen at the same time that the National Assembly, right? So what we have is, we have a situation where Sonko has the executive power, but he cannot pass laws because he has to be negotiating them with his previous, with the previous president party, Macky Sall and the APR. So Sonko did a smart move. He first showed the population that he was serious about what he was doing. He shows the population that he was serious about delivering what he said he's going to deliver, right? And after a certain time in power, a few months in power, he decided to dissolve the National Assembly. He said the National Assembly, which was a power of Macky Sall, need to be dissolved, and we need to call Senegalese to know if yes or no they want us to have the executive power, legislative power. Does Senegalese want, yes or no, to have Ousmane Sonko and the PASTEF printing new laws, implementing new laws, and changing constitution if necessary, right? You need to remember that Ousmane Sonko and Bassirou Faye and the PASTEF are fighting French neocolonialism. They are fighting French neocolonialism.
They are fighting you. You're
me.
French.
Me. They know me.
So they are fighting
We're in the same WhatsApp group. But they're definitely fighting my people, we can say. Because we have now understand that French influence in the Sahel region was way too strong, and that was destabilizing and preventing like development. So Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali have decided to do coup d'etat. They have decided to organize power based on the military powers that they have and fight back, right? Fight back with their power. But they don't want to do it in any democratic sense, because they feel like democracy is the regime that have been put in place to weaken their country. And by weakening their country, they allow the French and other foreign powers, the Russians are important, the Chinese are important as well, to play with their politics, to melt with their politics. Because democracy is expensive.
They put puppet leaders in those countries so that they manipulate.
That's what they feel.
So now this one wants to destroy those networks.
So the president of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, they have decided to go outside. They're not calling they went out of ECOWAS. They're not calling for elections. They're doing it without democracy tools. Senegalese, on the other sense, have been really attached to their democracy. This is the oldest democracy in Africa. They have never, ever had a single coup d'etat. Never ever a military have seized power and organized power in Senegal. Never ever Senegal have been into civil wars, as we have seen in many places where fake rebels movement come to destabilize the country. They have always managed to bring and develop peace through democracy, right? And through regime change. So Senegalese have said, no, Sonko, we're giving you power. You're going to implement the end of French neocolonialism. You're going to offer us more dignity and better economy for the youth. And we are going to give you more power that you already have by giving you the National Assembly. So now Sonko has all the power. The same as Donald Trump, by the way. He has both the Congress and the presidency. Sonko is in a similar situation where he can, for real, implement and deliver on his promise. We will see what he can do, because as we know, he doesn't have the security forces with him. So there must be some situations here. But Senegal is a democratic country where power is exercised, it's often delivered. And right now, the youth have made a clear choice on trying to fight French neocolonialism and develop the country outside of the classic France-Afrique, outside of the classic relationship with Europe, finding new partners such as Turkey, such as China, such as whoever want to help Senegal, as the president say. The young people are following that agenda, they're supporting this agenda, and it's really a pleasure to see a society that follow his leader, and a leader that says and listen to what the society asks him to do. It's a really fantastic thing.
So you're giving them a credit in Senegal. You're giving them a credit.
He won the last election.
But
he won the new one.
But then, Comrade Lesaffre, the man, the very system that helped him win the election, because the General Assembly was there when he won the election. After winning the election, using the very system, he now destroys them.
It doesn't destroy.
It's as if the ladder that he has used to climb up there, when he reaches there, he realizes if he leave it here, another person will use it and find me up there.
He definitely realized that having the presidency without having the National Assembly is trying to make a run with one leg, right? So he didn't want to run with one leg. He wanted the full power. Right? He wanted the full power, and he was given the full power. The interesting part is that he dissolved National Assembly, then Senegalese vote again. They could have voted for opposition.
Because one of the arguments I see in the analysis is that he has destabilized the structures to step his foot and power much more strong on ground, so that those aspirations that he wants are the ones to be given light of the day. The system that brought you to power, now you look at it and you see it as a negative force to the extent that you dissolve the National Assembly.
Listen, the National Assembly was an assembly of big men, but Senegalese are young people. They have new aspiration. They have new idea. They are like anyone around here. They listen and they watch what's going on. They understand the politics of their countries. We can accuse him of trying to smash the system, right? But we also can have some memory as Pan-African and remember what it means to smash the system. Remember what it means for a man that doesn't deliver for his country to seize power and try to change. What do they change first? The constitution. If you don't change the constitutions, you don't really change.
And this is exactly what he's pushing for.
He hasn't changed the constitution.
No, this is what Sonko is trying to push for. Yeah. That once he takes charge, he's going to amend.
If the National Assembly and the presidency are in capacity of amending the constitutions, we see what happened. But last time a president of Senegal tried to change the constitution to move from 2 terms. He has right for 2 terms in 2012, and he wanted to add a 3rd term. Last time he did that, Senegalese stopped them. They stopped them, then take them out of power. I was there. I was myself a student in Senegal, June 2012.
When this was happening?
June 2012. June 2012 was a beautiful lesson. The president said no. He changed the constitutions. He said now we can run a 3rd term. The people said no. 2 terms is enough, right? And he said no. I'm going to go to the elections. And now you guys are going to decide at the elections whatever we can do 3rd term or 4th term. 3rd term or 4th term. Senegalese said no, we don't want it. We don't want it. And thanks to a really bright president, right? Abdoulaye Wade, really bright president. He decided to call his opponent and said, listen, the Senegalese have said that you should be the president. That's my last term. Now you go and you do 2 terms, no more. So Senegalese people have tried to change the constitution in Senegal, right? In order to stay in power longer. But they have done that after 10 years or 12 years in power. Ousmane Sonko just arrived in power. What he wants is to be able to change the law that tied his country, tied his people to global foreign actors such as France and EU.
He wants to operationalize the law, amend it,
let me
to be
tell you.
able to detach the country from the international ties.
and especially those of global north that do not respect Senegal. The European Union has a big fish agreement, right? Sonko fishing agreement, which means that fishing boats from France, from Spain, from UK, from Ireland, from even Norway can go and fish in Senegal, right? This brings money to Senegalese government, but takes the fish away from Senegalese fishermen, right? Sonko have said, we need to stop this agreement. We need to stop this agreement. This is not working. We cannot let people eat our fish. We cannot let French people eat our fish when people are starving here. That makes no sense. He complained. 2 weeks ago, European Union just announced that they're not renewing the agreement of fishing. Almost like if they are the one. Right? So Sonko...
In other words, they nip the bud in the mud. This is what Sonko was pushing for. So for them to be smart, they said we are not renewing.
We are not doing it because
but actually it was the pressure.
But actually that one have been running since at least like 2010. I don't exactly remember the date, but I remember in 2012 when I used to live that side, the agreement was already in
You
place.
lived in Senegal, South Africa, and where else in Africa?
And Uganda now.
Uganda now.
Yeah, those are
so
the
you
three
lived
countries,
in
yeah.
Okay.
So
that's why you know a lot of African.
It's how I have built. I've built it also. I didn't want to study Africa outside of Africa. It made no sense for me to go and be in Europe or the US and studying Africa from books. I had to be there, and a lot of my white people, my Muzungu, they come to Africa trying to teach lessons. Me, I saw that, and I understood that this is not correct way to act in our time, right? So rather than coming to teach people, I came to learn as a student, right? And I registered in African University. I registered in the best Francophone African University. My own university in France asked me for an agreement, so I let one Senegalese student come to sit at my seat in France. And I sit at his seat in his university, right? So we made an exchange, we opened an exchange. And now it came to be that when Senegalese students were in France learning politics in Europe, and I was in Senegal learning politics in West Africa.
You are very brilliant. You know why? I have attended some conferences where a white man stands up and introduces himself as he has a PhD in African politics.
It's a problem.
How do you study me to the level of getting a PhD? But me, the person you have studied me, you think that you understand me better than me.
If we go like this,
me, how can you have a PhD in studying me? Then who am I?
You are
if you
a
have
professor.
If you have a PhD, if you have a PhD in understanding me, then who am I?
Definitely.
But you find them in conferences and pretending to be teaching me. Some of them want to teach me about my culture. That's why you see somebody
that you can do
trying to show that they understand African cultures and traditions and norms better than me, and that's why they want sometimes to want to push us into their LGBTQ community.
The corner of the.
And when you tell them this is not possible, they say, but you should respect human rights.
And they look surprised. They are surprised.
Respect human rights by you understanding me that in Africa this is a no-go zone area.
Yeah.
And you say let us discuss. Discuss what?
The basic.
Lesaffre is like somebody coming here to discuss with you whether he should take your life or not. should Lesaffre be killed or not? And somebody wants you to participate in that.
That's what they do. That's what they do. And they don't see anything wrong with it. So me, when I was growing up, I was already introduced to Pan-Africanism with some of my friends from university, also studying politics, right? And so when they come back to me and I said, no, listen, what you're telling me is fascinating. How do I learn about those things? That's what they say. They say, no, listen, you go there, you listen. Don't come and talk. We don't like that. We're going to listen to you even if you come and talk because we are respectful. But the truth is, we don't find that correct. So go there, listen and learn. And only after you have learned,
Then you can speak.
then you can say something.
Now you have the...
But not to everyone.
Yeah.
Not to the elders. Not to a tonton, as they say in West Africa.
What's tonton?
The tonton. Tonton is your uncle. You know? Your older uncle. Not to the tonton, but to the kids. Maybe you can tell the kids also about how the world is governed, what's going on, and things like that. That is okay. But don't come and tell us that you know about
and
us
you
before.
want to lecture the elders.
That doesn't work.
You want to start lecturing the elders.
One of my pride, and that also allowed me to be here sitting in front of you, is that 100% of my lecturer, professors, teachers in life have been black Africans that have a black experience of Africa, right? Not just that have traveled the world or that have stayed in the continent and that have taught me what it is, that have trusted me. And that's the trust I carry. And that's why I do all those shows and videos, because they have told me what is their real experience, what is really happening, right? And they give me that trust that I will do something useful with it. And what I found useful to do is to try to educate the people and try to explain what is happening, knowing that it's not me that is going to sort out the problem. I know I'm outside of the equations, but if I can help clarifying what is the equations, then it's already
you're part of the solution by identifying the equation or the problem. Yeah, you may not have
by bringing the
you may not have the solution, but you're telling them there is a problem here, man.
Are you helping?
So you're part of the solution. So now let's wind up on the Senegalese issue now. So how do you do? If somebody asked you to describe the leadership of Sonko, would you say he's democratic?
100%. 100%. He's a Pan-African Democrat. He's a Pan-African Democrat. Why is he democratic? Because he knows that in a context, in an authoritarian context, anywhere else in West Africa, he would have never win power. He would have not get power in Mali. He would not have get power in Guinea. He would not have get power in Ivory Coast. All of those systems are kind of closed. It's very difficult to a proper oppositions to rise up, because you have those fake opposition where you were my prime minister, now you and I fight, you go to election, you call yourself opposition, but you were the prime minister for 10 years. What are you talking about? Which opposition is that? No, this is a real change, right? Is it going to be, is it democratic? So far it is. So far it is. Whatever is democratic or not, personally, is not what I'm interested on. What I'm interested on is what are the tools that he can develop to stop and cut neocolonialism, the very same neocolonialism that Nkrumah told us about, that is still happening. What are the democratic tools we have? I do not like when those type of projects are end up by militaries or by security forces, you know, because you do not know really what is happening. When it's carried by a Democrat and a man of the tax administration, he used to work for the tax administration, then you have a better chance to see transparency, to see accountability. So I do feel like Sonko is definitely a historical Senegalese leader. He's definitely going to make history. He's already making history, and the chances that we can look at Senegal as an example for the next 20 and 30 years as a democratic example are still huge. But once again, we are not saying democracy. We should have democracy at any prices. Democracy is also a weak regime, and he has allowed a lot of foreign forces to come and exert power and exert like some sort of control, right? But someone like Sonko is trying to strengthen those democratic regime, so when they deliver, so they can deliver to the people and not just deliver to the national bourgeoisie.
Very good. Comrade Lesaffre. Senegal was colonized by European powers, including the Portuguese, Netherlands, and England, starting in the 15th century. The French, this one is the French I'm with here. The French, this man here, established a trading post in 1659 and eventually gained control of the island in Gorée.
In Saint Louis.
We call it Gorée. In Gorée. It's called Gorée in 1677. 1677. France's colonial presence in Senegal continued until Senegal gained independence in 1960. Senegal's founding president, Léopold Sédar Senghor, began the process of decolonization. In 2017, the statue of French colonial administrator Louis Ferdinand was toppled in a public garden, and in 2020, it was removed again for renovation. Other legacies of colonialism in Senegal include desertification, famine, strong ties to France and lack of factories to process groundnuts.
So we know that Senegal is under the France CFA, which is the same monetary system that the colonial
What is
one.
FA?
French CFA is like the Ugandan shillings, but that side is still connected to French euro, right? So we know that the monetary system has not changed since independence, and that monetary system has produced its effects, which is what every wealth of Senegal goes outside of Senegal. Especially Paris and France.
Everyone?
The wealth, the money.
The wealth.
When there's money made in Senegal,
yes, it has
goes
to go
outside, right? But when it comes to trade with other African partners, almost nothing. Almost nothing. Almost no trade with Mali, almost no trade with Burkina.
So Senegal doesn't trade with its neighbors very well?
All West Africa doesn't trade with their neighbors really well. They are attached.
They prefer.
Because of the monetary system, it's better for them to trade outside than to trade within Africa. That's the problem of the current monetary system, which is a neocolonial tool to keep the economy down and low. But yet, we are going to see in this show this system being dismantled. I can tell you in the next 1 year to 2 years, those leaders will dismantle that monetary system. Senegal, and then
Senegal,
Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, they will dismantle that system, right? They need to go out strong enough, and we're looking here for the support of Nigeria. Nigeria need to support the aspiration of dignity to those West African
Nigeria is the biggest economy in Africa.
Nigeria has the biggest economy, and the Naira is stable enough to also help the stabilization of the economy in West Africa, right? The same way the rand is helping like the stabilization of money in Southern Africa. So now, when we look at the situation, there's something more on the west. More on the east, of Senegal. That is particularly interesting. I don't know if you have seen it in a country called Niger. Not Nigeria, Niger. Right? Niger.
We call it Niger.
Niger.
Yeah.
Niger.
Niger.
So, in Niger, the government, right, has captured a really interesting man. He has captured a man that came once with a passport of Romania. Then he came 2 months after with a passport of France.
Wait a minute. In Niger?
In Niger.
They have captured the man?
They have captured the man. He came to Niger the first time.
Niger.
He's saying to Niger. He came to Niger with a Romanian passport, saying he's a security agent.
From Romania?
From Romania. Working for private security.
Purportedly.
Saying that he's going to work as a private security agent, right? The man disappeared, we don't have a trace. Now he's re-entering the country a few months after, now with a French passport. So the Secret Service, Niger Secret Service, start to look at the man and see what's going on here. Not for them to find the truth about this man. The truth was he was a French spy.
They from your country?
French spy. Those people are Secret Service of the French that have been the one accused of disorganizing Sahel. They are the one accused of giving weapons to the insurrections, to the rebels in the north, to the Tuaregs, to those that live in the desert, right? So now they called them. They got some documents. And they've been really smart about it, because what they did, rather than keeping it and tried to negotiate, like it used to happen before those things were done under closed doors, they came with the evidence of every French agent that were placed in the region, where they were going, what they were doing. They found a lot of evidence. And you know what they did? They called for a UN meeting. They called for a UN meeting organized by United Nations, so those countries can provide the evidence of French neocolonialism in the region. Great move.
This happened when?
This happened last week. This happened last week. This happened
last week.
Last week. Big pride in Niger. Big pride. Big pride. People,
last week.
They used to.
They arrested a French spy.
What they do is
who had entered the country reportedly as a security, a private security man from
Of course, the French pretend he's not a spy. That's the game, They're not gonna say it's a spy. Even when Russia and America exchange spy, they don't pretend they exchange spy. So they know. Now the French Secret Service have opened a request. They look at the situations, right? What we know is that now it is not possible for French Secret Service to come in the Sahel and meet with Tuaregs leaders, meet with rebels leaders, give them weapons or money, or even just talks. It is not possible. They have to pass and respect the country, they have to go in the capital,
to respect the sovereignty.
yes, and explain the sovereignty and explain the dignity of people, right? So it's a big pride for Niger. It's quite interesting because Niger, as you want me to say it, Niger has been, labeled by many as the poorest country in Africa.
Yeah.
People say, Niger is poor, Niger is poor, Niger is poor, what. Niger right now have the technology to spy on French and not only do it, but do it successfully. They are the first country in the region to publish those documents. And as someone that have worked and studied on those things, right? Because obviously as a Pan-African, you want to know what is it that those secret services are doing? How many people are there? Like what are they working on? What is it that they're doing with information they're providing? This is the very first time one of those nations put it straight and said, no, we want a UN meeting to disclose those evidence. We want a UN meeting to show the world, and then we can discuss.
Come on, tell us.
We can discuss. What do you think happened at the UN? What do you think happened?
Tell me something.
French put a veto. There's no meeting like this happening.
French blocked it by putting a veto. After all, they have veto powers.
Veto. Done.
Kaput.
So we will see what the what Niger is going to do next. But what we think is there will be something is happening. There will
but
be
also,
some
Mr. Lesaffre, this nonsense of the Western world, bullying Africa. That's a very serious matter that should call for an urgent meeting in the UN. But how can French, the one we are accusing, be the one to put a veto that no, there shouldn't be a meeting?
But we spoke about
and
that.
Everybody else is quiet. We are accusing you for coming to our country, spy on us, steal our wealth. Now, you even have the power to go to the UN and block our meeting.
No.
Tomorrow, when they want something from Africa, they'll be the first ones to organize
a meeting.
A
very meeting.
And all the African countries, the leaders of Africa, will all jump on the planes and go. Now that it is their time to answer, Africa is this side, questioning you, French. You say, no, there is no meeting. Tomorrow, when it is Africa on the other side and the French is asking questions, all the African leaders will jump in one plane and want to go. That nonsense should also stop.
It's just
bullying.
But you remember we spoke about that. The French sit at the United Nations with a veto right.
One country has veto powers.
Five.
No, I'm saying France as a country.
5 countries have veto power. Only outside of 220 countries in the world.
Which are these countries?
5. France
is number 1.
UK, America, Russia, China.
And China.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Then one country called France is bigger than the entire Africa.
Correct.
54 countries. Correct. You have no veto powers.
Yeah.
That's why 54 countries can accuse
1.5 billion people not being represented to the Security Council. 1.5 billion people. That's the amount of people in Africa as we speak. Not even speaking of the diaspora. Not even speaking of the millions of migrants that stays in those countries because impoverishing Africa have led them to have to leave and become workers and slaves of capitalism in other countries. Now those people are also there. It's millions of people that are underrepresented. But I want to even add something to that. Remember when America tried to invade Iraq? They came to the UN with evidence.
Yes.
They came with evidence. Did you hear the French putting a veto?
No.
The French put a veto to the evidence of the US. But the US came and said that we have evidence of we're going to invade Iraq. Iraq has chemical weapons.
They have weapons of mass destruction.
Mass destruction, all of this.
Sure.
They came to present the evidence, right? But now the French said, no, there's no evidence. This is not true. We are putting our veto. There's no evidence. Why is it that the French don't allow the same thing to happen with Niger? If you want a fair trial, United Nations seems to be like a place to go.
Yes.
You bring Mali and Niger bring the evidence.
Yes.
The French defend themselves.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we see who was right, who was wrong.
Dispel the lie.
It's not like you organize a trial in Paris or in Niamey. It's not like you organize a trial in Nigeria or in Niger. No, this trial could have been fair. Why is it that the French refused that? What is it that the French refused that? And when you say they bully is not the right term here. The French electricity come from Niger. Okay? So the
Wait a minute.
Yes.
The electricity you have in France.
Our atomic bomb We have the atomic bomb. That's why we can afford to have veto power and things like this, because no one can attack us. Not Germany, not Russia. No one can attack us. We have the atomic bomb, right? Where does the atomic bomb come from? If it's not from the desert of Niger itself. Tassalit is the name of the city where they got the uranium. The uranium that feed French nuclear power stations, that give electricity, cheap electricity to the French, that give the nuclear power to the French army, so they can look at the Americans and the Russians in the eyes, knowing that they can't do any shit on us that we can't do back. All of this is come from Niger, so it's not bullying. It's really strategic. It's really strategic. It's not a simple bullying. It's not like we don't like you. It is, we need you in order...
for our survival.
Exactly, because cheap electricity provide what? Good economies. Because now a factory that open, let's say in Uganda, or a factory that open in France they will have cheaper electricity than they even can get in Niger. So better business. Yeah, better
The power in France is cheaper than the power in Niger. Yet you get the power from Niger.
So a factory will prefer to open in France than to open in Niger. Right? And so the whole economy benefit from those type of things. So when you think of Niger, when you think of Gabon, when you think of Algeria, those three countries, one provide the gas, Algeria, one provide the petrol, Gabon, and the last one, Niger, provided the uranium. Because now things are changing with the new president. They're cutting that uranium. But what it means is that it's not simple bullying. It's strategic. It is a strategic, and that's something as Pan-African we are really clear about. If we continue also to play small nation against small nation, same thing will happen. People are being strategic about their very own interest. Kenyans don't care about Ugandans. Ugandans don't care about Congolese. Congolese don't care about South Sudanese. People divide. That's division. As Pan-African, the antidote we call is simple: bringing things together. Be stronger together. Be stronger together rather than fighting each other. The spirit of Pan-Africanism.
You are stronger together.
You are stronger together. If you want to fight the influence of France, it's better you are Mali, Niger, Burkina, all together than Niger alone. You know? And those countries have understood it. And I think that's where it's a big shift, because what we see is that in order to fight neocolonialism, Africa have tried to fight neocolonialism since 60 years, 70 years now. Right? Colonialism first and then neocolonialism. But neocolonialism is still here. In 2024, almost 2025, we're still talking about it. Why? Because of that division. But now, one of the most advanced regime that fight this neocolonialism have decided to unite together. The AES, les États du Sahel. État du Sahel. They have the Somali, Niger, and Burkina. Their leadership have decided to sit together. And develop like a new agenda for themselves. What it means is it's quite clear to me. It has been clear since a long time, but I want people to really be clear about that. When the French decided to make money in Africa, when they decided to organize the continent on their own interests at colonial time, they didn't create Togo, Benin, Mali, Burkina. They put everything in one country. AOF, Afrique Occidentale Française. All West Africa, Afrique Occidentale Française. There were AOF and AEF, right? What it means is that at the moment where the settlers and colonialists were ambitious about doing something here, they decided to abolish borders. At the moment when they gave up and when they've been kicked out, right? At the moment of independence, they put those little countries one by one. Yeah. And us, we still play with the rules that they have chosen. But at the moment, we sit together. They look at us.
When they wanted our wealth together, they said, you must live together.
Simply.
When we kicked them out, in order to keep us divided, they said, you must live in divisions.
In divisions.
Why? So that they can have easy entry to Togo, to Mali, tomorrow to Niger, the other day to Burkina Faso, the other day to Congo, the other day to Kenya.
And that's not only the French.
That's why America is easy to come and convince one man called William Ruto, please come and be our ally. Because he knows, if it was 54 presidents all of them to take a decision on behalf of Africa, it would be a difficult task.
My man, if Ruto was president of Africa, he will be calling Biden and Trump for them to come in Kenya, not the reverse. He doesn't go to New York. If we were one country, it would be the world coming to us to beg for us. Now it's the reverse. We have to go outside to try to beg for the world.
They will be coming to Africa to beg.
They would be coming here to beg on our resources. There's no way Tesla can exist without Africa. There's no way Apple can exist without Africa. There's no way Microsoft could have developed outside of Africa. It's impossible. The minerals that they have used were coming from here.
Congo.
So the amount of economy that needs this continent, but yet we are the one begging. It makes no sense. So just to sum up, to sum up.
Yeah.
When Africa go to unions based on certain agenda, like right now the end of French neocolonialism, right? They deliver. There's things happening. Secret service now work efficiently. They start to collaborate. They start to do things together. That should be a message for the youth here. That should be a message for the youth. We know that we are stronger with Kenya, with Rwanda, with Tanzania than just as ourselves. It doesn't mean there won't be issues. There will be issues, like in any families. But a family is way stronger as a family as one individual can be. It's impossible. So what we observe in Niger is a beautiful move. It's something that can reshape the narrative. As we speak, we can say that Niger Secret Service are stronger than French Secret Service, which is, I think,
because they have
arrested them and captured the documents and exposed them to the world. So it's a really interesting story happening in Niger.
They want to take them to the UN.
I want to see those evidence. I want to see those evidence. We want to see the evidence. They say there is evidence that the French have done, and we have seen some of the documents. We want to see the whole evidence. They have an entire compelling case. Africa should look at this case. What is happening? What do they do? How do they do it? So we can also look at what they do. Because a small fact, but 2 days ago, the United Nations sit with a peaceful resolution for Sudan. They found a resolution for Sudan. It was brought by the UK. Russia put a veto. They say, no, we're not going to allow this peace because the peace needs to be made in Sudan, not in the UN. That's what they say. The truth is, as I've explained to you before, I know that the Russians are taking gold from Sudan, and that's how they finance the war in Ukraine.
Putin.
Russia is taking gold in Sudan.
In Sudan.
So I don't know if those Russians really have an interest into peace. I think they have more interest into a war that leads to Sudan having to sell the gold. So
themselves. Russia is benefiting 100% from the war in Sudan.
Listen, it's not the point of this show, but what we observe is that United Nations, same situation. United Nations go somewhere, then there's a superpower that come with a veto, no one else can do anything. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. It can't happen like this anymore. It can't happen like this anymore. So a reform of the United Nations is on the go. It's going to happen. Africa needs to have proper seats because now that it fight back without those ties, it fight back strong. And Niger capturing French Secret Service agent, not just the agent, but the information he carries, a French spy. That's a solid evidence of progress, and we like to see that progress, and we have to see that progress.
Comrade Lesaffre, let's finish this with I want you to make just a few comments about Somaliland elections. There is now a new leader. Then after that, you'll end up with, I want to hear your comment about the recently re-elected American president called Donald Trump. MAGA. Make America great again.
Listen.
I want to hear you in respect to Africa. What should we expect from America in the Donald Trump administration? Let's begin with Somalia.
No,
Somaliland.
I think Somaliland. The news just came out, right? We are recording this at the beginning. So we can organize election. We don't rig elections. We have opposition winning. We give ID to everyone.
Actually, now opposition has won.
Yeah, that's the script they're writing. So they can tell other countries in the world, listen, this is all what we do. We are a proper country. We're not a fake country.
Compare Somaliland with the main Somalia and see.
We are much better.
We are much better.
We organize election, they don't.
Even an opposition has won an election.
Opposition win the election.
Full handover of power.
And we stay, right? So the message is that, personally, I think, in as Pan African, I think what we look at is not so much about the wording, but the actions. So what is that new president do? Is he going to do anything different? Is he going to renegotiate the partnership with Somalia? Is he going to renegotiate the partnership with Ethiopia and Abiy Ahmed? What is going to happen is going to be regional, right? So we don't want a new country that is going to open base to Americans or Chinese or what. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. But what we can say is that if Somalians from Somaliland have decided to choose a new leader, then we should respect that. And just look at the leaders and try to say,
who could be crafting this template where Somaliland are raiding on? There must be somebody, because I'm told America is dealing very well with the Somaliland rebels. Because remember, Somaliland, much of it is under Al-Shabaab.
Somalia is under Al-Shabaab. Somaliland is clean of terrorism. There's not so much bombing attack there. But it's already small swing. It's not that big. But then the biggest resources are in that land. It's a problem because now you divide let's take the example of Kampala. Now let's say the richest province, let's say is the West. Ne? I take the West, I take all the intelligent people, and now the rest of Uganda is at war. Where do you think people with money will go? They will go to the West. Where do you think the educated people will go? They will go to the West. Where do you think the teacher will go? They will go to the West. The middle class, they will go to the West. So now suddenly, you take out all the positive, all those that have capacity of change in a country, and you put them in your country, and now you're blaming the other guys for not changing. But you took everyone in your country that could have had the capacity of change. So we should not be naive about that. All Somalians deserve a better life than they have right now. All Somalians, not just those of Somaliland or those of Somalia. Us Pan-Africans, we're not in favor
all
of
them
division.
deserve better.
No one think here that a country as small as Somaliland can be stronger than Turkey, than Turkish, than Ethiopia, than Russia, than China, than America. Something like Somaliland is not even the GDP of a neighborhood of New York. It's not even that. It's nothing. For them, it's nothing, right? So we look at it. We don't like divisions. We see what's happening. If they can deliver better for the country, let them deliver better for the country. But at the end of the day, we are not naive. The Somalian issue will be sorted by Somalians together and not separate.
Not separate. Very good. You have ended on a very good point. Finally, the elections of America and the triumph of Donald Trump.
Listen,
what do you read from that? And what does Africa really expect from the Trump administration? Do we expect better?
So I want to do an analysis that is slightly different from the one I've heard here. I know a lot of our followers, our listeners, they're in favor of Trump. They're in favor of Trump, especially because Trump have said that he's going to sort out some problems and stop being interventionist. He stop going to go all around the world.
Being a warmonger.
What I want is to break with the narrative of Donald Trump that he expressed to us. He tells us what he's going to do. Great. But like any other leader, we're going to look at what you've done, not at what you say you're going to do. Right?
What you've done.
So the question is not so much what is Donald Trump can do, but rather what has Donald Trump done before that we can learn in his first term. What has he done for Africa? Nothing. He doesn't know. He doesn't know a thing about here. He doesn't really. I've been told he doesn't even have like advisor on Africa. African advisors. Apparently, it took 6 months in his first term to find a guy. Just to see him.
Yeah. His advisors.
So not to see him, to find one. He didn't even have someone that knew Africa enough to become his special advisor. So for a long time he didn't even deal with African stories, which I think is good. We don't want like too much American influence or Russian or Chinese.
Yeah.
So if Donald Trump can be busy with America and Americans, we are really happy with that. Yeah, that's good enough. Just leave us alone. We we do our thing. Leave us alone. So if Donald Trump wants to deal with a problem in America, we're happy for him. As soon as he doesn't try to get involved. We do know that the Democrats usually get more involved in African politics. We do know that they have more solid administrations and they have a stronger message to pass. But we also look at it knowing that no Americans will come to sort problems here. No Americans will come to bring prosperity. No Americans will come and sort the issue between Congo and Rwanda like they've been trying to do since 8 years or 10 years officially. But the conflict is there. No Americans will come and tell Al Burhan and Fatih to sit together and agree. They have to sit together and agree. There's no, we can't expect foreigners to do that much, right? So for Donald Trump, if you want to judge Donald Trump, I said judge him on what he has done, not on what he says he's going to do, because we have much more data on what he has done. And I say that if he focused on Americans and less on the rest of the world, including us in Africa, then it's going to be good for the world.
And on that note, I thank you so much, our dear viewers. This is the PAP Weekly Roundup. I'm always here with Comrade Thomas Lesaffre Mutatina. Thomas Lesaffre, the third name I've given him here in Uganda is Mutatina. Thomas Mutatina is a journalist now working with the SPY Uganda, and he's head of research at Pan-African Pyramid and the SPY Uganda.
Thank you so much.
Don't agonize.
Organize.
Don't agonize.
Organize.
Say
Aluta.
Continua.
Aluta.
Continua.